Tonight on a special edition of SUTV,
we'll take a look at the construction of Cumberland Valley Railroad and its impact on Shippensburg University and the community.
All that and more right now.
Thanks for joining us on this special edition of SUTV. I'm Najee Surratt.
And I'm Chavez Ortiz. The Cumberland Valley Railroad was a driving force for commerce and transportation. Until the mid-1980s, the Cumberland Valley relied heavily on the railroad.
From its inception in the early 1900s, or sorry, the early 1800s, the Cumberland Valley Railroad served stations, all the way from down in Maryland up to Harrisburg.
Crews began construction of the Cumberland Valley Railroad in 1835. Chief Surveyor William Minor Roberts took on the daunting task of connecting the Cumberland Valley by rail. Marshall Keeley took a look at how it all got started.
In June of 1835, work began on a railroad line from Harrisburg to Chambersburg.
Moving by rail, you can move a bigger quantity of people or produce or whatever really faster at a further distance and at a cheaper cost than, say, by horseback or even by foot.
Pennsylvania saw the benefit of having a faster mode of transportation.
The state envisions this first turnpike system, I guess you could put it as, which will connect Pittsburgh all the way out the west with Philadelphia in the east. And as you know, most people know, Philadelphia is Pennsylvania's port.
As a crew of 850 men began work on the railroad, some towns were still pleading to have the railroad pass through.
Up and down this valley, everybody's vying to have the railroad run through their town, and that's because the economic prosperity it's going to bring with it.
Though the economy prospered after the railroad's completion, the construction was a long and grueling process.
Because this is a time period before dynamite even, so everything is constructed by hand or black powder. Your tractor at this point in time is a mule.
Each winter the crew's progress was stopped because the ground was too solid to work with, so construction took several years. For SUTV News, I'm Marshall Keeley.
The railroad could not have been completed without the construction of a bridge to go over the Susquehanna. Building on the bridge ceased in the winter months due to lower water levels and chunks of ice.
The railroad was constructed on a measly budget of $642,000. This meant the crew had to save on material costs.
They use oak planks that are capped in steel or iron rather to save as much money as possible, just because the inside of that is now not steel and you don't have to pay for that. It's much cheaper to have a piece of oak.
The Cumberland Valley Railroad has only one rail line due to the budgetary restrictions. The addition of the railroad helped the economy of the Cumberland Valley and led to population growth. New jobs drew people to the region, but the difficult nature of the work meant lower-class citizens held most of the railroad jobs.
It's part of the reason that there's such a large Irish community in the Cumberland Valley, because people don't want to go do this job, so who do you have come do the job? The people that are at the bottom of society, the Irish in this case.
In 1890, the average railroad worker of the Cumberland Valley Railroad made only $1.28 per day. In today's terms, this will amount to about $400 per week. This is a small amount considering railroad employees work sun up to sundown 6 days a week.
6-day work weeks pay off. The railroad turned Shippensburg into a roaring town. Josh Charles has the story.
It was wonderful. It was the best place ever. It really was. It was lots of stores downtown. There were people everywhere. It wasn't like it is now.
Donna Davis is one of many ship residents to experience train life in Shippensburg, a life that can be loud but economical.
It's important to remember that the railroad was here long before the university was. I mean, the railroad was here in the 1830s and the university wasn't created until 1871. So in many ways, the university was built where it was because of the railroad.
Not only did the train help build the university, but it also brought an economical advantage to the town.
The train brought business through this town. In the old books, it has when the Liberty Bell went through. There was all kinds of people at that point back in the 1800s, the early 1900s, using it for transportation.
The Cumberland Valley Railroad brought many visitors from around the East Coast to Shippensburg and is a reason for the building of Shippensburg University.
There was a steep growth percentage-wise of students traveling up to 70 miles further before just to go to school. So people were traveling further to go to school, and then people were traveling further for trips.
Transportation turned State College into Shippensburg University. The old rails will be turned into a memorial for people to learn more about the trail. For SUTV News, I'm Josh Charles.
The Trail Memorial is hoping to be completed by the end of the year. Not only did the train bring people into the area, but it also allowed for students to get off campus.
A lot of students would just hop on the train and then ride it through to the town square, which is where the Select Diner is now. And it was a huge commercial area, especially being around the railroad. So students would go there for lunch in between classes instead of going to Kreiner.
The train brought commerce into the area, allowing local citizens to open up shops as more and more people came to Shippensburg.
Unfortunately, as more people moved into the area, it became harder for the borough to keep the town safe.
When they took the tracks out in '85, they did that because there was a boy that lived on Earl Street that was on his bicycle, and he tried to grab a ride with the train, and somehow he got killed. So that was the reason they decided to take the train tracks out.
Taking the tracks down would not be the end of the train, as the university has created a trail for people to walk in to remember in memory of the train.
Shippensburg Township is heading up a project to commemorate the railroad and its impact on the Cumberland Valley. Marshall Keeley has more.
My office is 100 yards away from where this railroad car has been sitting for 30 years, abandoned and forgotten, a diamond in the rough.
The Cumberland Valley Rail Trailhead has its centerpiece. Shippensburg Township and Rotary Club commissioned the renovation of a 1956 rail car originally used on the Penn Central Railroad.
So our plan is over the spring and the fall to begin rehabilitating this boxcar, sanding it down and painting it, restoring the exterior and putting it on tracks on the new pad that's just down from the trail.
Once completed, the boxcar will be the focal point of the Shippensburg Station, a multi-use heritage and performance space. The car's interior will give guests a glimpse into the history of the railroad through video presentations and railroad artifacts. A deck will connect the boxcar's opening to the trail and provide a platform for special events.
Our goal here is to build a site that is not just about railroad heritage, but can also be used by community members and students for performances and festivals.
Although there's still much work to be done, the township hopes both the project and the community come together.
Whether you're a student, a faculty member, a staff member, an alumnus, a member of the community, you're going to be able to come here and really feel at home and feel like you're really part of something special.
For SUTV News, I'm Marshall Keeley.
Dr. Dietrich Ward tells us more about the finalization of the project.
In the final stages of building the track, the piece of kind of artifactual track that will be used. Within a week, we'll be taking the rehabilitated railroad trucks. That's the undercarriage, the wheels that we have cleaned and repainted. They're sitting right over there. Maybe we'll get some footage of it. And then we'll be taking those, putting those on the track, and then putting the boxcar back together. So after that stage, the boxcar itself, we're in the process of developing a grant developing a grant application that which will include eventually redoing the parking lot, doing landscaping around here, building a deck that will go from the rail trail over to the train car, rehabbing the outside, repainting. It's lead-based paint, so it's actually going to be quite expensive to kind of get the lead-based paint off and then repaint it, and then also putting a museum inside of it, so that eventually this Shippensburg station will really be both a hub tying the university and the town back together, but also a space that will be a real regional asset in terms of a tourist product for folks to come and get to know more about Shippensburg and the railroad history of the Cumberland Valley.
The Rail Trail Council will unveil the Shippensburg Station at ceremony next April. That's it for this special look at the history of the Cumberland Valley Railroad.
Keep an eye out for more videos about the railroad and be sure to visit Shippensburg Station in April.
Thanks for watching.